So guys, we have another challenge here on our way to 600 on lichess. So I already seem to cross 2000. It's about time. Now we have this guy Jimmy09 to challenge us. So we have a rossolimo Sicilian. Another new opening. Yeah, now after e6, white actually has a principled choice here whether to castle or to try to ruin black's pawn structure. Let's take the knight. I feel like playing with the knight against with the knights against the bishop. Now I slightly damage his pawn structure. Let's see, played knight f6. I think it's not the best idea, but just castle. I can also start with knight d2. I don't think it matters so much. Let's just castle. So my strategy now would be to play against these doubled pawns in the long run. Played h6. Okay, h6, I don't see too much point for this move. So let me just develop queen e2 looks reasonable. So I just play queen e2. That's a good spot for the queen, perhaps supporting my pawn advance in the center. He's not trying to do anything special in the center of the board, so I say let's try to fianchetto our bishop on b2. Maybe something good would happen. Now my plan, yeah, bishop a6, but I don't mind too much. Let's just develop the knight. Now maybe in the future, thanks to this bishop, I have some plans of attack on the king side, maybe with moves like knight e5 and pawn to f4. So I really hope it would actually play the pawn to d5 here, because then I would just play my knight to e5. It would be quite easy for me to attack. He's playing rook b8, but this move really doesn't threat anything. c4, yeah, not a big deal. I think I'll just go with my plan. Let's play knight e5. Now the point is that he could not chase me away so easily with d6, because then I take the pawn on c6. So now my plan is very straightforward. I just want to advance my pawns. Let's start. So thanks to my bishop on b2, I have some attacking chances on this side of the board. Let's exchange also this knight on f6, which is in my view one of the main defenders of the king. I'm already threatening checkmate, obviously, or not obviously, but yeah, he didn't allow me to do that. But now I have very pleasant choices. I can just take on e5 and to ruin his pawn structure. I can also first play knight to f3. So many good options. Let's see. Okay, let's take on e5. Let's do some damage to his pawn structure. I also open up the f file. Now let's bring my knight into the game. So I think this position is quite unpleasant here. I have a lot of pressure against this pawn now. I think he has to play his pawn to f6 now. But this move pawn to f6 allows me to jump with my knight to h4. And now I have some nice squares to jump to on his king side. So actually I like my position very much here. Also, as a bonus, he has some problems with his pawn structure. His pawns on the queen side are quite weakened, and I can later on try to attack them. Now it sacrifices a pawn, but I don't see a big deal. I just take it. Okay, he checks, but you know, as I remember, one check did not kill anybody yet. So now it should be just a solid extra pawn for white. So let's see what could be my next move. So first of all, obviously I would like to improve my rook position, maybe on d1. Also, I am not very fond of my bishop here. Now he's completely blocked by a wall of pawns. So actually, I like this move, bishop c1. Now I'm threatening to take the pawn on h6. Obviously he will defend from it. But then I want just to play bishop e3 maybe in some positions, and just to exchange the bishops, which in my view is favorable for white here. First of all because he has the material advantage, and also because this dark squared bishop is a bit blocked by his pawns. Yeah, now he played f5, g5, which is a very committal move, completely destroying his king position. Actually, he doesn't even have a threat because the knight is pinned, so I'm not even forced to move my knight straight away, but I really doesn't see a reason not to play knight to f5. So I just do it. And now he has some long-term weaknesses, especially this pawn on f6 and this pawn on h6. Now are very relevant targets to attack, and I will try to put a lot of pressure on these pawns on the next moves. For example, now I'm just threatening to take this guy here. I think he's most likely will take my knight on f5. I don't think he can stand such a strong knight too long. And now, okay, yeah, he played bishop d4, but I think I can just play pawn to c3 to chase him away from my territory. Yeah, let's do c3. Okay, now I can play pawn to b4 to further chase him away. But I like to play simple, so let's just exchange this bad bishop. And also now I'm preparing to develop my last piece into the game. So I think I'm doing well here. Besides the pawn that white, the fact that white has a pawn up, black has a position full of weaknesses. So once again, this pawn on f6, pawn on h6, and also his king position is very exposed because of his move g5. Yeah, so now I play bishop e7, trying to defend his weaknesses, which is perhaps a clever move, because once this bishop stays on the board, it's more difficult for me to attack his pawn on f6. So I will at least try to be even more sophisticated. I will play queen to f2. So it would look like my threat is to take on a7, but actually this was my idea, to exchange these bishops. And now it would be much easier for me to attack the pawn on f6 when this bishop is gone. So I think these exchanges were very favorable for me. Now comes the technical part, where white is trying to realize his advantage. So yeah, before going to realize, let's just make a useful move. Always a good idea to give the king a little lift square to go whenever he needs. Now let's see what he's going to do. Black is obviously suffering here. He has a pawn down for, I don't see any good compensation for this. Let's attack the pawn once more, tripling my pieces against this pawn. Now, it wouldn't be so easy to win, because there is kind of little material on the board. He only has this weakness on f6 right now. But you know, I'm not in a hurry, in a rush to win. I'll take my time to improve the position. So let's see. How can I further improve my position? Now maybe he wants to seize the open files. Yeah, maybe I will try to put my own rook on d1, but I don't see where this is going. Let's think. Okay, it's not as easy as it seems to improve my position. Okay, let's get my rook from f5. I think the rook has more possibilities on f3. From here we can move to d3. Yeah. Now let's try to exchange some pieces. If I manage to exchange all of the rooks, I think I will just crash him through with my pawns on the queen side. Because basically white has an advantage of 4 against 2 on the queen side. So it should be quite easy to win on this side of the board. He's stubborn, not letting me exchange the queens. It's a bit annoying. Let's go. Yeah, that's annoying for sure. Let's go back here. Yeah, putting back the pressure on the pawn. Now if the queen will penetrate, I'll try to go this way once again. Maybe I did not posted my pieces on the right way. I should have placed my rooks on the d file from the beginning, then it would be much easier to win. Now it seems I have some technical problems. The problem is that now it's controlling the d file. It's kind of hard for me to find a good plan here. Of improving my position. It's really annoying. Position should be lost for him. But he's still holding on for the moment. Let's see what he's doing. Another strategy in order to try to win in such positions is just to kind of stand in place and pretend like you're not doing too much. And yeah, for example, this move h5 by him is completely uncalled for, in my opinion. Now he has new weaknesses I can exploit. And I will go back here. Now I will actually repost my rook on f5, and I will try to use this weakening of the king side by playing the move h4. Oh, he played h4 himself. No, that's bad, my son. Now rook f5. So basically what black is doing here is self-destructing. So this is actually what I wanted to say before. So one of the strategies to win a winning position, if you don't see a clear way to proceed, is just to stand in place for a couple of moves, like improving a little bit the position, not something very dramatic. And a lot of the times what will happen is just the opponent would get bored or frustrated or anything, and he will just, as you see in front of your eyes, he will just kind of self-destruct in one moment or another. Of course, some people have more nerves than other people, but as you can see, Black just completely unnecessarily advanced his pawn on the king side and created himself additional weaknesses that he should have not. Now I think I'm winning quite comfortably. I have 2 pawns up in this moment, and his king position is quite exposed. Whether my king position is rather safe here. Yeah, let's harass him a little bit with my queen. But also just play rook h6. Let's play rook h6. Just to keep his pieces tied up to the defense of this pawn on f6. I kinda like this move. I think at the moment Black is holding, but at the long run he won't be able to hold his position together. 2 pawns is already too much. My plan would be either to attack his king, maybe with the queen somehow, or to just try to exchange all of the pieces and win the pawn endgame with 2 pawns up. Okay, he played king e8. Isn't this just a huge blunder? Cannot I just take the pawn on f6 here? I think I can. I think I will. So he's just exchanging everything. Yeah, but this is really bad for him. Yeah, he has like 1 million pawns down. He's not going to recover from this. Now I can either play rook a5. No, let's make it simple. I just take this pawn. Now I have 3 pawns up. It's not even. It's more than enough. Let's get my king slightly closer to the action. Now I want to get it involved in the game. A bit low on time though. Let's try to play it with more focus. Let's check. Let's place my rook here. Now I'm completely safe. Yeah, he's going for some tricks, but I've got everything covered. Yeah, 3 pawns are just too much. I have nothing too clever to say. 3 passed pawns. Yeah, okay. You want to trick me. Yeah, maybe he managed to trick me. Yeah, but it's not a huge deal. Because I'm promoting 1 move before him. Yeah, I even though I must say that I did made it slightly more complicated than it should have been. Oh, but I have a forced win. Nice. Now I just exchanged the queens. Yeah. Okay, actually I must admit that I didn't saw it in advance. Yeah, but now I just win here. The pawn endgame. Yeah, now the pawn will just march to the glory. It's auto-promoting for a queen. I wanted to promote to a rook, but never mind. Yeah, let's just use the good old knight moving technique. And once again, people don't resign. It's like a curse on me. Checkmate, buddy. Yeah, I think I played it very badly in the technical part of the game. Somewhere, yeah, after the opening, I had a very good position, in my opinion. I like this position very much for white. It's almost +1 here, but yeah, g5. Wow, the computer says it's the best move, but this position must be very bad for him. Just a pawn down. Yeah, but I think I got the whole strategy wrong. I should have. Yeah, this was also what the computer is saying. I should have just placed my rooks on the d file from the beginning, and just to try maybe to maneuver my rooks to the d file and try to penetrate over there, because in the game I somehow didn't manage to improve my positions for a long time until it started to self-destruct with this move h5. Yeah, I don't know why he just completely ruined his own position. But yeah, that was fortunate for me. Okay, so this was another game in our way to 2600. My rating now stands on 2050, something like this, yeah. So we're getting closer. Hopefully next time uh, we're going to have some more interesting games. So thank you for watching and goodbye.